What's going on, everyone? So the Damian Lillard trade cycle just continues. All of the drama, all of the craziness of the offseason. I do believe Damian Lillard will end up getting traded. Portland is in no rush to trade him, which makes sense, right? It's still a very long offseason. It doesn't feel like it because everything happens so fast, but we do. We're still a long ways away from training camp and all of those things. So Portland can kind of take their time, find the best offer. Maybe as we get closer to training camp, teams get desperate and go, okay, like let's make the push. We'll give them what they want, right? The point is they don't need to hurry up. Miami is scrambling to try to figure out a way to go get Damian Lillard. The idea is that like, hey, Damian Lillard to Miami, he wants to go to Miami. Miami really wants him, but Portland's looking at it as like, one, we don't have to trade you. You're under contract for another 4 years. Two, we're not just going to trade you for a bag of chips, and Miami doesn't have anything to trade you for. Three, other teams want you, and what? Are you just not going to play? Like, we're not going to send you to Detroit or something like that to a rebuilding team, but we'll work with you to get you to a contender, but you got to work with us type thing, right? Again, Portland has no obligations. Cronin has kind of said some stuff that people kind of like look at and go like, almost like they're kind of throwing Dame under the bus. You kind of have fans split, which I don't really get, right? Like, look, it's not all on the organization. Dame does have some accountability, but there is a good amount that is on the organization. There's accountability all around. But the point is that Portland does not have to trade him. They could even keep him and bring him on this season and see if a team gets desperate come the trade deadline, right? Maybe, one of these teams, the Philly, they feel like, hey, we're a piece away. Philly is an option that could go there. Or, maybe Boston finally buys into it, whatever. But speaking of Boston seems to be very interested in Damian Lillard, and reports are coming out that, hey, Boston is reaching out and trying to see what it will take to acquire Dame. And now look, the Boston Celtics, they got rid of Marcus Smart. That hurt, right? Because that was a leader. That was a vocal guy. That was one of the alphas. That was a dog, right? He was the guy that was taking all the final shots. And it was like, where's Tatum? Where's Brown? Why is Marcus Smart shooting the game-winning shots or the game-tying shots and stuff? Like, why is he taking all the shots down the stretch? If you can bring in Damian Lillard, he's going to be a lot of those same things. He's going to be that alpha. He's going to be that dog. But he's going to be a guy that can take those shots down the stretch that Marcus Smart was getting and actually hit them and take over games and be a huge, impactful player. The Celtics got Kristaps Porzingis, and a lot of people think that they are going to be a lot better. Not really sold entirely yet. I definitely think it makes them better. I just don't know how much better. He's an upgrade over Al Horford, but there's still a lot of questions, right? How much of an impact does losing Marcus Smart hurt? Yes, they have Derek White. Yes, they have Brogdon, but Marcus Smart was the leader. He was, again, the alpha, all that stuff. Joe Mazzulla, I'm still not really sold on him as a coach. I think he'll be better as a coach because he'll have another year under his belt. But a lot of stuff that he was just doing poorly was all stuff that were easily fixed, right? Like calling timeout, right? How many times did we hear him say, like, I like to save the timeouts for the end of games and then not even use them at the end of games? It was like, what are you talking about, right? Like, so that's a big concern. Tatum completely disappearing, right? Like, that becomes a big problem. Jaylen Brown can't dribble and he disappears at times. Like, all of the same problems the Celtics have are still problems that the Celtics have, right? A lot of isolation. Just, I don't know how well it's going to work. But if you could get a guy like Damian Lillard, that solves a lot, right? Because Dame isn't going to disappear. So those games that Tatum just is absent and non-existent, you have a guy in Damian Lillard that can keep you afloat, that can go and continue to hit big shots, that can go off for 30 any given night, right? He's a guy that would add a world of value to the Celtics. And most people have the Celtics as the favorites, which I believe that they should, right? I think the Celtics are arguably the best team in the league and very likely the best team in the East. Milwaukee might have something to say about that, but Boston is very good. And every year they seem to be in the Eastern Conference Finals or the NBA Finals as of late. And I think that Porzingis would help. And then if you could add Damian Lillard, like, come on. I mean, that's ridiculous, right? Now, the only way I see the Celtics really getting Damian Lillard is if they trade Jaylen Brown. And look, I think Portland would do that in a heartbeat. right? If Jaylen Brown becomes available and they could trade Jaylen Brown for Damian Lillard, I think, one, I think Portland would be foolish to say no. And two, I think they absolutely would do it. The Celtics have shopped Jaylen Brown before. There's a lot of questions about should they give Jaylen Brown the max contract? Like, is Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum really the duo that's going to put you over the top and win an NBA championship? Or is it time to break that up? Is it time to look in a different direction, right? Jaylen Brown is more equipped to be an alpha, to be the number one guy, but Jason Tatum's just the better player, right? Where if you bring in Damian Lillard, I think you have a clear cut. Like Damian, like it's Jason Tatum's team, without a doubt, but Damian Lillard will be the leader, right? And I think Damian Lillard could help Jason Tatum kind of take that next step into leadership, right? Where right now, I just don't see that happening. And I think that could be a real problem. And if you have Jason Tatum, Damian Lillard, Kristaps Porzingis, Robert Williams, Al Horford, Derek White, Brogdon, like, come on. You're the best team in the league at that point. You should win an NBA championship. The only thing stopping you at that point is health, right? Damian Lillard, he's only getting older. He's unhealthy. He's been struggling with injuries. Does that become a problem for the Boston Celtics? I think the Boston Celtics have this window. And I think for the Boston Celtics, if they have an opportunity to trade Jaylen Brown and go get Damian Lillard, I think you do it. I really do. Because I'm not sold on the Tatum-Brown combo. It just hasn't worked yet. It's like, at what point do you just say, all right, we need to go in a different direction? Jaylen Brown wants to be the guy or a guy. I think he goes to Portland. He gets to team up with Scoot and that young core. I think for the Blazers, that makes all the sense in the world, right? Tatum, he gets to now be the guy in Boston. It's his team, all that stuff. Dame's kind of coming in. But I also think Dame would have, like when LeBron went to Miami, Dwayne Wade taught him how to be a leader, how to win championships, how to do things. And look, of course, Damian Lillard hasn't won a championship, but I do think the impact that he could have on Jason Tatum would be very valuable. And I do think Boston would have a real opportunity to win an NBA championship. Look, Damian Lillard is better right now than Jaylen Brown. Jaylen Brown I think there's an argument that he's an all-around better player just because he plays both sides of the ball very well, and Boston would lose a lot of the defense. But you still have Derek White, you still have Brogdon, you still have Jason Tatum, who's a very good two-way player. You still have Robinson, Kristaps Porzingis. Like, you're going to be very good defensively, right? You would take a little bit of a step back defensively, but Damian Lillard fixes and solves so many of your issues, so many of your problems, right? Jaylen Brown, I absolutely think, he's a better two-way player, but Damian Lillard is a much better natural scorer. And now you have two guys in Jason Tatum and Damian Lillard that just, how do you stop those guys? How do you stop those two, right? Like, he's going to be more reliable than Brown, at least on the offensive end, and he's probably going to be more reliable than Jason Tatum. So I just think if that really is an option on the table, I don't know why Boston doesn't do it, right? Like, I get there's the concern, his age, where do you go? But if you win an NBA championship, who cares, right? Even if you only win one, right? You get number 18, you did your job. It was worth it, right? Like, if you told me right now, hey, if you trade Jaylen Brown, and you're guaranteed an NBA championship. Not saying that you're guaranteed an NBA championship with Damian Lillard, but if you were told tomorrow, like, hey, if you trade for Damian Lillard, you're going to win a championship, but you have to trade Jaylen Brown, you would do it. I mean, if the Celtics were guaranteed to win a championship, they would probably trade Jason Tatum, right? Like, if you can win an NBA championship, it is so hard to win in this league. As we have seen, the Celtics have been arguably one of, if not the best team in the league for the last 5-6 years. Like, every year they're in the Eastern Conference Finals. Every year they have one of the best records, and they just keep falling short. If you have an opportunity to win an NBA championship, you do it. You push chips to the table and you go for it, right? Problem is that the Celtics have always been reluctant in doing that. And I get the reluctancy with Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum because they are one of the best duos in the league. And they do have their moments of brilliance. And they do seem like, at times, like, you can win an NBA championship, but it's like, it's like the definition of insanity when you do something over and over again and expect a different result, right? That's kind of where we're at with the Celtics. It's like you keep doing the same thing over and over again. You keep adding new pieces to Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum, and it's just they just haven't been able to get you over the hump, right? Maybe this year is the year, but it's like, at what point do you say, all right, clearly it's not working, right? You got Kristaps Porzingis. They may be looking at it as like that was the missing piece, but I do think losing Marcus Smart is going to hurt a lot. Bringing in a guy like Damian Lillard, I think kind of gives you a lot of what Marcus Smart would give you, and he's a lot better. And he also is going to help supplement the loss of Jaylen Brown, right? Like, I think if you went into the offseason and somebody told you you could trade Marcus Smart and Jaylen Brown for Damian Lillard and Kristaps Porzingis, I don't think there's a person in the world that would tell you not to, right? Maybe like diehard Jaylen Brown fans or Marcus Smart fans, but if from an unbiased perspective, if you were told, hey, you could go get Damian Lillard and Kristaps Porzingis for Marcus Smart and Jaylen Brown, why wouldn't you do that, right? Like, why? It makes too much sense. You become arguably the best offensive team in the league, and you still maintain a lot of your defense, and you got your closer, you got your go-to guy, you got your consistent scorer, right? Jason Tatum, if he disappears, you don't have to worry about it. You got Damian Lillard, right? Like, that, I think, becomes very important and very valuable for the Boston Celtics. So I think it makes a lot of sense. I get why the Celtics are inquiring about Damian Lillard. Obviously, if they can trade for him without having to give up Jaylen Brown, then of course. I just don't see that happening. I don't. Like, the Celtics do have, assets and stuff like that, but like Jaylen Brown makes all the sense, right? Like, why would Portland want like Derek White and Brogdon, right? Maybe they could get like Time Lord or something like that, but even then, like, why? Jaylen Brown, give us Jaylen Brown, we'll give you Damian Lillard. It's a win-win, right? They get their young wing for the future and a potential star for next to Scoot Henderson, and Boston becomes the best team in the league. Win-win, right? Like, I think if you're the Celtics, I think you do it. But as always, this is a discussion, so I pass the question on you. Let me know your thoughts and opinions down in the comments below. What do you think? Do you agree? Disagree? Would you trade Jaylen Brown for Damian Lillard? However you feel, whatever your thoughts are, let me know.